Hi, I'm Matt from hockeyreviews.ca, and this video we're going to show how to remove the palm on this G7 blocker, and we're going to kind of show how it is different than on the G5. There was more adjustments on the G5, so we're going to see how those differences are there. We're also going to show how to take off this index finger protection, how to adjust it, and we're also going to show how to adjust up and down the palm as well. For this, there's a ton of other content going to be out on the G7 line. This one's more of a how-to just for the blocker because it does have that removable palm, and we're going to take a look at how to do that here, just because it is a bit different than what the G5 is, so I figured I'd update this video. So basically, we're just gonna undo all these. It's a lot of Velcro. I'm gonna speed up the video, but if there's an important part I have to call out, I'll slow it down and talk about it specifically, but I'm gonna speed this up just so it's not that boring to watch. Core Tech, which are core shorts, and people have heard of these before. They were labeled under Under Armour before. Now Bauer sells hockey specific one, but Core themselves sell their own line of pants and supportive clothing and apparel. Basically, this stuff helps you with growing strains, growing pulls, and helps keep your hips tight and everything like that. And speaking of injuries, I kind of pulled a growing playing in the playoffs a few months ago and have had to keep using these Core Tech shorts to make sure my growing doesn't get worse. When I don't wear them, I can feel it and it hurts kind of to walk the next day. With these, keeps everything nice and tight and keeps everything from stretching out too far and getting injured. So these have been a huge savior for me. Check out the link in the description to their website and use my coupon code that's in there to get a discount, and I'll put it on the screen here. It helps support myself and the channel so I can make content and doing real reviews, but also you get a solid product that I use all the time. This is where I talked about you can remove this piece right here. So if you just Velcro this out, this whole little piece right here can come straight out and you can remove this impact piece. Now, as you can see, it's kind of annoying to get through this little part right here, but it is Velcroable and you can take that out. I'm just gonna leave it in because I am going to use this piece all the time. And to put it back into, there's this little gap right here that you have to stick in, and this is going to be a pain to get it in there. So I might have to, I'll speed this up as well. So here, I will take this blocker piece. So here, I will take this thumb piece off in a second, but to remove the palms, you just have to undo the pieces in here and then pull it out. And then the whole piece itself on the palm itself is now undone. And I think the easiest way would just be to pull the top off right here. And as you can see, we have the palm and the board itself. And same with this one right here, where this one can be pulled off. And we can see the two palms here. Interesting that there is different foams back here. This one was kind of a whiter foam. This one I think is going to be multi-layered. So yeah, you can see it has a little bit softer foam there, has a different layer in there. I like how this foam is here because you could replace it. Very easy to cut your own kind of backhand padding in there. And if you want to add more padding, very easy to do that as well. So it's a nice additional piece on here. And you can see the old one, how it was more or less just one layer of foam through there, where that one is kind of multi-layered. So nice increase there, a little bit more padding right there. So the rest of it is pretty similar. The actual position of these Velcro pieces, you can see, is slightly different on this one, and it's definitely lower on the fingers. So this one had that 3-piece adjustment. This one only had the 2, and you can see the difference of where that is sewn. We'll try to fit the old palm into the new one, and we'll fit the new one into the old one to see if it really works. But you can see where that difference is right there. So that is a change on that for sure. This is a big change on here. You can see the two little holes right here versus the 3 here. So there's 3 positions to go on. The new one only has 2. But we'll take the rest of this out. We'll undo that thumb piece to really show how the inside of it is, and we'll do the same on here as well. This little piece attaches to this outer wall. So you do that and you pull it through, and then that is the thumb. And then there are attachment pieces down here. So you do that, and then one on the base of the board as well. So the board sticks onto that piece to really give the structure on it and to attach it. Once you take that out, we end up having the thumb itself. Again, kind of cool how Warrior does this with all their pieces, and they kind of stick out. Interesting that there is a little piece right here. I wonder if this is for the 0.1, so it's stitched in instead of any of the Velcro pieces. So kind of cool how there's a little piece on there. But taking this one out, same idea really. Have this right here, and then you have your two attachment pieces right here, and it's out. So pretty similar thing going on right here with everything. This was the index finger piece that I removed, as you can see. That one is on this one. So we'll go into that right now and show how you can adjust that and where to move it. I took this piece out because it got in the way, but here is kind of where you can move it to, right? And you kind of want it to sit, so when you hold a stick, it kind of covers that little gap right there. This does a pretty good job anyway. Check out my other video where I show that off, but I found it got in the way really bad. But just to show this off a little bit more and how you can adjust it, when you undo this piece and you undo this piece, you can stick this kind of forward up here, which would give it kind of that part, so it's right up there, which is a pretty good amount. I mean, this is pretty close to where it was to begin with. You can see because that Velcro isn't overlapping, so it's probably decent with there. You can also move it a bit more back, so if you wanted to, you can also kind of move it back here so it covers even more here. This is really going to get away of a stick though, and without that palm it's harder to see, but you're gonna have to trust me with this because I show it in the other video. But for me, I took this out just because it does get in the way too much, and I have paddle wedges as well. Awesome part about this, and I like this because it's definitely replaceable. And because you can unvelcro all this, you can definitely see the inner piece right here, and this has that foam piece, and it also does have their composite material. So you can see it right here, and it's kind of glued down and sewn down, but it is like, it's not super thick, as you can see right there, but it's on both sides, and that's what's giving that rigidity to this board itself and doesn't let it to flex. So it has that foam behind it, and then it has that composite on both sides sandwiched in there to really kind of lock it in place. But for the rest of this, I'm going to just seal this back up. So I'm going to try to push the foams in a little bit better, just so it doesn't show as much. And then we're going to try to fold this in place and lock it in place. So once it's pretty straight, and you can see it's pretty straight like that, then we're going to fold over this Velcro back over here to lock that in place. And then we're going to do it on this one. And then this part as well, we're gonna have to fold that over like that so it's locked back in place, and you have your stiffer sidewall again. This didn't have that plastic on it at all, and you could see how soft this was. And well, plastic, I say composite, you can see how soft that was and wasn't really doing a lot. But the connection pieces and everything are the same on this one, so we're gonna seal this one back up as well. So now, before we put them all back together, since this is very open and everything, we're gonna show some of the adjustment pieces on the side as well. So this is that wrist strap. You can put it down to this piece right here, and you can put it up to this piece right here. I mentioned when I did the comparison review, I found when it was right here, it was actually below this piece right here, so it kind of just got right on your wrist. I'm gonna move this one up now, so that way it's gonna go here and gonna go across. So hopefully it does get that padded spot up here like I mentioned in that video. So how you do this, they have these little buckle tabs like this, and it will come out eventually, but I always hate how they have a little lip on the end, but I mean, that's just how they work. And then we're going to put it onto this piece right here. And then we just snap it back in place. And that's the adjustment for that all done, and don't really need to touch that anymore. So we're gonna try the G5 liner, because sometimes you can find these available somewhere. I don't have a G6 to test with this, but we're gonna try the G5 and the G7 just in case someone has like an intermediate liner and they want to stick this liner in the new glove, but they only have a senior glove. We'll see what happens here. So the one side definitely goes in place how you would want it to, but the other side definitely doesn't. So that is the big difference on the 7. You can see how these two are on the same side of each other, and I called out how this piece was kind of opposite of this, so you can see how it's much higher than what the other one was. Because that attachment point is so far up there, this can't really get in there that well. You could do this, so I could just stick this piece
right here, maybe.
I could do that and kind of wrap this around, but it's not doing what you want it to. And honestly, you can also kind of just put it through this tab as well. Okay, I'm not gonna try to put it through this tab just because this tab, I would need pliers to really pull this through the tab because it's so small, but you could do this like this. So you could easily put that palm in there if you wanted to. It's not gonna be the right attachment point, but you can do it, it would work. I wouldn't totally recommend it, but it's doable. So now for this one, we are going to have problems, I believe. So this is obviously the 7 palm. So there you have it. The 7 does work on this 5 if you need to go that way. And the adjustment pieces are just kind of opposite of each other. So you can see this piece is actually on the low one and this side is actually on the high one. So you won't really be able to adjust it the way you would want on a 5, but you can still get it in there. This doesn't really work. The 5 palm doesn't really work with the 7, but I mean, you can make it work and it would stick in there, just wouldn't be perfect. I've had people ask me over and over again of what socks I always recommend, and I've been using Cut Shield for a while now. I have multiple stuff for them. So Cut Shield is a company out of Canada that makes cut resistant socks, and these are their Pro Air 6, which means it's an anti-level 6 for cut resistance on here. Full review of it up there so you can check it out. But I now have a coupon code with Cut Shield, so if you want to support the channel, you can check out the link in the description to Cut Shield, buy some socks, which I think are honestly one of the better socks on the market. I absolutely love them. They're pretty thin and they are cut resistant and they're not too hot either. Use my coupon code, you get 25% off and it helps support the channel. So now that we've done the Frankenstein test, I'm gonna put this palm back into this one. I'm going to adjust it so it is on the higher spot. The normal one, it was down here. So I'm gonna move it up here. That way the board kind of shifts down the palm and I have more board below my fingers, so lower shots are kind of easier to grab. Generally speaking, I like a more neutral position, but I'm just testing this one out for this blocker just to see how it plays and how it feels. I also generally don't like this because I feel like it feels too loose to me, but that's a very personal preference thing and some people absolutely love these. So how I always did these palms, I just do the harder part to get in first, which is going to be this piece right here. So I'm going to put this corner in first and put them through here, just because once you get the other side in, this is harder to dig in because the sidewall is there. I showed how you can move the sidewall to make it easier, but the sidewall's in place as is right now, and I don't think you really need to get rid of that just to fit this through. So the inner piece just goes on the side, and I always find don't really try to connect the glove at all, just kind of leave it loose and then just pull these pieces tight so it comes snug on the side. And by snug I mean you can see this gap right here. We want to close up that gap, so something's getting in the way here, so we just have to move it around a bit, and it's still getting in the way, and there it is. So now that's through. Fold this Velcro piece over right here, put it on top, and then it is in. And then we want to flatten out the palm now since that piece is in. So we want to make sure everything is kind of laying flat how you want it. Get this piece in right here, which is always annoying because there's stuff behind it, but it worked a lot better than the other one. And then finally, we get this piece in as well. Go through there, tighten those both up, and then Velcro them in, and then the palm itself is in where you want it to. You can kind of just squish it around to make sure it's being held in place. Now the one thing that's kind of annoying to this for me is this kind of sits slightly over the top. Next easiest part would be to put the fingers in, since we have everything kind of open here. So that index finger piece right here goes through right here, and this is where you would want to put this piece back on if you're doing this, because you do have to put this piece of elastic and Velcro through this impact protection piece. So you want to make sure you do that right now if you haven't already. Put that on. I like it nice and tight. Make sure this is getting stuck on something, so make sure it doesn't. So pull that out from under there. This piece can, because it's like loose and not connected anywhere, can get caught under things and it would probably get in the way. So you want to make sure that piece kind of sits in between your index finger and kind of moves with this just like that, which it is doing right now. So it is all good with that. And now we're going to attach the other part to the clamshell right here and lock that down. I want to cover up as much sticky Velcro as possible. And we have that piece locked down like there, and honestly that feels a bit too tight, just my middle finger was kind of hitting that. So I just found on this, if you put it kind of on the top, it feels like it's pulling my ring finger weird. So I found that if you just adjust this to be kind of on the closer to this corner of the hole than that corner, it definitely feels a bit better, but still it feels like it's kind of being forced down. So I'm going to do this a little looser, and that feels a lot better. When this was on that spot, like this hole right here, I could do this as tight as I wanted to. It felt good, but this feels like it's just pulling too much on the actual fingers. So loosening it up and kind of adjusting where that comes through definitely feels a lot better. We also have this piece, which kind of shows what I was talking about. So I moved this to the high piece right here, and then I'm going to move it all the way down over here to the lower piece. Now, if I went to high over here, it would definitely cover this a bit more, but I want it on a bit of an angle because I'm going to use this cuff on an angle as well. So if I go like that, you can see how this part is now being touched by this padded piece right here. So I found previously when it was on the middle point right there, it would come under this, kind of like this. So it would be right on your wrist. I want it a bit higher on the protective piece. So moving that up there, doing it on an angle works a bit better for that. Gives you a bit more wrist mobility with that as well because it's on that angle. Again, if you put it here, it's going to be all behind this padded piece, but that is going to be reserved for that top cuff. So I wanted to move that there. So next piece is this thumb piece, and we have two little pieces of Velcro here that it sandwiches in between, which is right here and right here. So these two pieces here. So this thumb ends up going, and you can see that's the one side, that is the other side. So what we end up doing is we end up kind of shoving this in here, and this also can be moved up and down as well, this thumb. So depending on what your hand position is, you would want it either down there or up here. This is the part that is going to go through this piece, so it's a good idea for the lineup. So for me, since I moved my hand up, we're going to move the thumb up as well with it. So we're going to stick it through the other hole this time. So that's through there, and I'm going to try to tighten it as much as possible, which it seems like it's pretty good. And now we have our general idea of where that should sit. And then this part's kind of tricky. So you don't want it to get caught on the sides. So you want to open up as much as possible, stick the thumb so it's touching the ground, and then you can make your adjustments. Actually, what I'm going to do here is detach this piece right here, reattach it, that Velcro to this thumb. That way you can get the thumb flat against the board. Pull this up, flatten out this piece of Velcro, flatten out that piece of Velcro so it sticks like that. And then we are going to make sure the board is flat there, and then sandwich those pieces of Velcro onto the thumb. And then now we attach this piece right here. So this goes through here. And then finally it's through, and you stick it on there. And then we have your thumb piece going through here, and adjust that to how tight you want it depending on your finger length. And then finally this piece is going right here into this middle one, so I have a more open cuff, because I did find that got away a bit in the chest protector, which I mentioned in the other video. And then we have it all together and locked in place, and you can see everything is fine there. This is still definitely going to get in the way. You can see I adjusted that and it's still kind of sitting in the way. I'm going to take that off. I use paddle wedge anyways, so it doesn't really have any issues, but that's definitely going to rub up against things and get in the way. So that was how to attach the G7 palm and adjust it. And we also checked it out against the G5. Hopefully this video was helpful, and if it was, please let Warrior know on social media. It'd be greatly appreciated. So hopefully I can do more videos like this in the future.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.